You could save over $2,500 building a full camera kit just on Black Friday deals this year. Now, this is mostly kit that I have either used, owned, or would pick up myself. There are a few variations because obviously not everything is on Black Friday, and I'll mention those bits of kit where perhaps it is worth still going for the full price equivalent or another version rather than the deal that's potentially out there right now. If you want to pick up any of this kit and massively help out the channel, then I have listed affiliate links to everything down below and go straight through to any piece of equipment that you want to buy. So let's start off with cameras. I think that's the most important place to start. And firstly, I'm just going to quickly mention the Panasonic S5 II and X5 IIX. Now, in the UK, and I guess in Europe as well, there's some really good deals on the S5 II where you can get it with a couple of lenses and you can save an absolute fortune. So definitely worth considering if you need a really affordable but an amazing camera. It's the camera I'm using right now to shoot this YouTube video on. In the US, the deal isn't quite as good. However, you can still save a couple of $100s if you want to buy an S5 IIX, which I think that's a better deal than just the standard S5 II in the US. Now, if you want the ultimate camera for your kit, then definitely going for an FX3 is always a great option. I absolutely love the Sony FX3. And right now there's a good $300 and £300 off here in the UK as well. Wherever you look, I've seen big discounts on the FX3. Does that mean another one is coming soon? No, I don't think so. I think we'll probably be holding off a little bit longer before we see a new one. But certainly right now, if you want to pick up one of these cameras that I have used pretty much exclusively over the last couple of years, I've used it nearly day in and day out on so many shoots, and it's just a brilliant, reliable camera and really has become an industry standard. And certainly if you picked one of these up, you could do no wrong. To go with that, you probably want a cage, and there are plenty of options out there. I do like the look of this SMALLRIG cage, not one that I personally own, but it's got the side handle strap. I always think it's nice to have one of those. I like it on my tilter cage, but also like the fact that it's got that attachment to the top handle as well to make it a bit more secure, a bit more rugged. Definitely an option worth going for, and I think it's a great looking cage for the Sony FX3. I recently did a review of this SMALLRIG side handle. I picked one up for my red Komodo because I just needed something that I could place and I wanted something that's easy adjustable. And of course you could use it with the FX3 cage as well. I absolutely love it. So check out that review if you haven't seen it already. Very nice side handle that is very functional, works on both sides. So you don't have to buy a dedicated left or right. You can flip it whenever you want. And it uses that new Hawk lock system as well. Now, if you're looking at lenses, there aren't a huge number of Sony lenses on a special deal at the moment, but they have got a few, such as $200 off the Sony 7200 original G Master. It's not the Mark II, but not a bad deal if you're looking to get one of those. This isn't officially a Black Friday deal, but the TAMRON 35-150 lens, the lens that I use 70% of the time, is also a very good price and worth picking up if you're building up a kit. You could really live pretty much entirely with that lens and just have a small wide angle lens such as the Sigma 16-28 and be very happy with that as a basic kit. Now, if you want to get into the world of cinema lenses, then definitely the VESPID primes are worth considering. They come with EF and PL mount, so they work pretty much anywhere, especially when you use an adapter like on the Sony FX3 or the S5 II. Of course, they're full frame as well, and they've got a nice full set, all the range you could think of, all the focal lengths that you would want. That's why I really like them. They're pretty neutral as well. They have a slight character to them, but nothing too extreme, so you can use them in a lot of different circumstances and not worry about the look being too strong for your client. So certainly if you're looking at getting cine lenses, these are a great option to go with because here in the UK there's a massive discount on them, £425 off each lens, so you could save a huge amount of money picking up one of these sets over the competition. I personally have the 21mm, the 35 and the 90mm macro lens. I would probably go for those ones again. The 90 can be a bit of a struggle with the focusing because it is a bit more precise. Obviously great for close-ups, but not so good for general use. So I probably would go for the 75 instead if I were to pick one up again. Now you're going to probably want to pick up some ND filters, and I think Nisi NDs are the way to go. They are just very reliable and honestly probably the best color out of any semi-affordable NDs that you can get. So there's the variable ND, which is a good option to go with, a good discount on them at the moment. But there's also their set of fixed NDs as well that's worth considering, as you're not going to have any color shift. What's quite nice about the fixed NDs, it does come with all the step-up rings you need. So it's an 82mm as standard, and it comes with the various rings so you can use lenses with a smaller attachment. Now you're going to need a tripod, and I've done a review of the head of this tripod because I only bought the head, I didn't get the legs. But certainly this is a great deal. If you need a decent tripod for a mirrorless camera that's fairly portable but still very solid and can get you smooth shots, this is the way I would go, to be honest. I say I didn't buy the legs myself. I put them the head on some IFOOTAGE legs, which are also very nice and a bit more portable. But I think for general use, these legs are going to be a bit more solid. It's really hard to go wrong with this as a first tripod. Now, I never owned the DJI RS3, I had the RS2, and I have recently picked up an RS4. However, I think for most people, the RS3 Pro is going to be as good as an RS4. There's not a huge number of differences between the generations, and gimbals are just all great nowadays. But there is a massive discount on this particular one, and that's why I think I personally would probably pick up the RS3 Pro instead if I was in the market for a new gimbal. With that though, I do highly recommend you pick up some side handles and grips for your RS3, just because it makes it a lot easier. Generally I don't use both, I end up just using one of the grips on one side, and to be honest, it just makes things a little bit easier to do various moves with the RS3. Now when it comes to mics, there's not a huge number of great Black Friday deals on the kind of wireless mics that I like using. Personally, I'm a big fan of the Rode Wireless Pros, and I think they are worth paying the full price for. To be honest, you've got the 32-bit float, they're very reliable, and they are a great option. They sound awesome. I've got a review coming very soon. However, if you really want to stick to Black Friday deals, then the Hollyland M2s are worth considering. These are absolutely tiny. If you want to shoot with a phone, these are probably the ones I would go with because of how small they are. They are a great option to go with, really compact. And although they wouldn't necessarily be my first pick if I was putting together a professional kit, I think for the price, they're definitely worth considering grabbing for certain shoots. Speaking of audio recording, the Zoom F3 is a great 32-bit recorder with 2 XLR inputs, a very useful device that you could place anywhere, just connect up an XLR mic, and now you've got a very nice safe track recording in there if you needed to place audio anywhere. I know a lot of wedding videographers really are a big fan of these recorders, and I could just see it as a nice piece of kit to have in your bag for so many different circumstances. Now you're going to need some headphones, and if you do a lot of traveling like me, you're going to want some noise cancelling ones. And they've got a great deal on the Sony WH-1000XM4s. These are the ones that I personally use. I have used them a ton, flying on plenty of flights. What I like about them is they're USB-C charge. They charge extremely quickly. So even if you've forgotten to charge them up and you're at the airport, a 15-minute quick charge will be more than enough to last a 5 or 6 hour flight. So that's why I really love them, and the noise cancelling does work really well. Now when it comes to monitoring, it kind of depends on what size of monitor that you want. This is a monitor that I personally have never used. However, it looks impressive as it's 2,000 nits and it's only $190. That is insane to me that we can get monitors that are that bright for that price nowadays. Now, I have used another Viltrox monitor, which is the one I'm using right now, and the picture quality is great. The colors are good. The menu system's very nice. So I presume all of that is also true with this particular one, but now with a much brighter screen. If you prefer a 7-inch monitor though, then definitely check out the OCT7. This is a 3000 nit display, so definitely not gonna have any issues even in the brightest of scenarios. I know the menu system on these aren't quite as good as some of the competition, but I do certainly love the fact that it's got such thin bezels compared to a lot of the competition out there. The T7 is the HDMI only version. If you want to spend a bit more, you can get the G7. But either way, this is a great price for a very bright 7-inch monitor. Now, if you want a fairly portable client monitor, then I think definitely check out the Feelworld LUT11 10.1-inch monitor, which has some really cool features about it. First off, it is 10 inches, which is a bit bigger than those 7-inch monitors, but it's not too big like the 15-inch production monitors that actually can be quite a challenge to carry around, very big and heavy. This is still going to be able to slip into your backpack or something. It's not going to take up too much space, but it does have its own stand. It's very bright at 2000 nits, so once again, even in bright daylight, your client is going to be able to see what you're doing. Because it's also a bit bigger screen, it's just a bit more enjoyable for them to crowd around and watch over a 7-inch monitor, which is much more for kind of personal director use instead. One of the cool features this actually has is a pass-through power for a wireless transmitter, which is another reason why I think this actually makes a perfect client monitor. It means you can basically just attach your wireless transmitter onto the back and power it just off that one single battery. No cables to mess around with, no worries about how you're going to rig the transmitter to the monitor itself, just a case of attaching it straight on the back, and there you go, a very nice client monitor setup. If you really want a simple monitor setup, then the Axon CMO 4K is worth considering. It's really tiny and it basically just converts your iPhone or iPad into a screen, and I think that is awesome. Probably worth having one of these in the kit just as a backup in case you have an issue with your main monitor, or perhaps you want to use your main monitor for a client, whatever it may be. Having one of these is so affordable and small, and it just means that wherever you go, when you've got your phone on you, you do have a nice monitor to use. The only kind of thing I would point out that to be a bit aware of, other than the fact that you're using your phone and limitations there, is of course that the phones, when they overheat, they do dim the screen. So if you're in bright conditions, although the screen may be bright enough initially, you may find that after an extended period of time of shooting, that suddenly your screen will go dim and you won't be able to get it any brighter, which could be a bit frustrating. Of course, for all of this, you're going to need some sort of monitor mount, and definitely check out the SMALLRIG quick release. This will work very nicely with that cage we mentioned earlier. Now, of course, we need memory cards to put all of this on, and there does seem to be some very good deals on SD cards and CF Express Type A cards as well. If you're looking for a V90 SD card, then right now the SanDisk Extreme Pro is down to $99, so a big discount from their usual price. Although, as we always find with V90 cards, they're still very expensive compared to CF Express cards. If you want to go down the CF Express Type A card route, then this is a great deal. It's actually not a Black Friday deal, but it's at $209 for 2 PerGear 256 CF Express Type A cards. I've actually done a review of these memory cards about a year ago when they've got first announced, and I have been using it consistently with my FX3 for the last year. I'm going to do an update just before Christmas about how the whole year's gone. I did promise that, but I can give you a little preview now. It works absolutely perfectly. I've had no issues with these cards whatsoever. And the fact now you can get 2 of them for pretty much the price that you'd get 1 a year ago, I think is a great deal and worth picking up. Personally, I probably would go with this over V90 SD cards. They're a lot more reliable, much more solid, and actually look at the price. Effectively, you're getting twice as much storage per dollar that you spend. Of course, you will need a card reader for those CF Express Type A cards, and I certainly would consider the PGY Tech CreateMate, which is a really cool combo of memory card storage for both your SD cards, CF Express Type A cards, and even micro SD cards all in one place. But it's also a card reader as well, so it means that you've got everything all in one place. And if you're buying another camera system, of course, you can pick up the Type B instead. Of course, you're going to need to back up all that footage nice and quickly when you're on shoots. And honestly, a good option to go with is something like this SanDisk T4 Extreme portable drives. The 4TB one, which I just always go 4TB now. I think the value per terabyte is totally worth it. And I think that at this price, it's worth picking at least a couple of these up. If you don't want to go SanDisk because of all the issues that happened in the past, they've got past that now, it's not a problem anymore. Then there are also a good deal on the Samsung T7s as well, although they are just a bit more expensive. Now, when it comes to long-term storage, of course, you're going to need some hard drives, and actually some really good deals on portable 5TB Seagate drives right now. These are the ones that I use for doing long-term storage and backup. I'll store one here at my house and another at my colleagues. So we just know that we've got cold storage put away somewhere, and we can just label the drives with what's on them. We buy these all the time. We buy so many of these drives, and when they're on a good deal like this, it's definitely worth picking a few up. Okay, so now we're on to lighting, and a light that I've just picked up to test and review is the Zhun G300. Now, this is a light that is capable in one single color temperature going up to 500 watts of power. So it's extremely powerful, yet being very small, which is what is so exciting about this particular light. And I think if you're looking for one big powerful light, this is definitely worth considering because it is so affordable compared to the competition. That said, if you want to stick in the Aperture AMARAN ecosystem, which I can totally understand, there's a lot of good reasons why you'd want to be in that world and stay in that world, then there is a good deal on the AMARAN 200XS, a light that I use all the time. You could easily pair that also with the 60XS as well, which is a really great small secondary light. Use it as a hair light or to fill in some background. Personally though, although these lights are great and we own several of both of them, I now would actually consider the SMALLRIG ones instead. SMALLRIG have released their new RC22B Pro light. This is not a light that I've actually tested myself. However, from using some other SMALLRIG lights in the past, I think this is going to be a great option. It's a very similar price. It has the ability to run off V-Lock batteries on the back of the light itself. You just attach that V-Lock straight on the back of the light, and now you have a very portable 200 watt light, which I think is incredibly useful for most people producing corporate work. I'd actually pair that with their 60B, a light that I picked up a while ago and we use all the time on corporate shoots. It's just as powerful as the AMARAN one, but the one big advantage is that it can be powered off USB-C and it has a built-in battery. So even then, you don't need to even remember to bring a spec and V-Lock. Straight away, you can just turn this thing on and away you go. To go with those lights, you'll need at least one softbox, and I think a 90cm one often is enough for most interview situations. So definitely worth checking out the SMALLRIG 90cm softbox, which has got a big discount on it as well. If you're looking to build up your camera rig and you want to run it off V-Lock so you can power everything off a V-Lock battery, or perhaps just add a bit of weight and size to the whole camera setup, then I think this is the best way to go. Much better than using rods, much better than using other ways of rigging things up, because it's just so simple. It's so compact. When you don't need it, it packs down really small. I've done a full review of this, and so make sure you check that out if you want to see my full opinion on it. But I think with the price it currently is, it's definitely worth considering picking one of these up, as it works so seamlessly with things like the cage that I mentioned earlier. Of course, you'll want to put a V-Lock battery on the back of that V-Lock plate. So definitely look at the SMALLRIG 99 watt hour battery. It gives you 65 watt hour power delivery out of those USB-C ports. That means you can power your MacBook Pro or charge up your batteries, whatever it may be. It can be all done using one of these V-Lock batteries. When it comes to charging, SMALLRIG also have a quite nice looking MPFZ 4-way charger, which I haven't seen before. It looks brand new. Once again, it charges off USB-C, so you could charge it off one of those V-Lock batteries if you want, or you can just plug it into any mobile phone power delivery charger, and straight away you're going to be charging 4 of your batteries all in one go. Now, of course, you will need to pick up some batteries for your Sony FX3, and honestly, I do mostly just use the official ones. They do cost a lot of money, but they're very reliable, and I know exactly the amount of charge I'm going to get out of each one. That said, these newer ones are a great price and probably worth just picking up a few just as backups. And the fact that they have USB-C charger built into the battery itself means that even if you have an issue with your main charger or you forget to bring it with you, you could charge one of these up out of the way while still using your camera at the same time. You can tell I really love USB-C stuff, because another one I found as well is this portable battery charger for Sony batteries that has a built-in battery itself. So this is a bit like how the Rode and the DJI mics have their little storage case, and within that they have a battery that charges up the microphones. Works great in that scenario, so why not apply that to camera batteries as well? And that's why I think this innovation is really clever. But what's quite nice about this compared to the more basic charger we saw earlier, you've now got a dual charger that you can use as storage for those batteries as well, and it can charge while it's in your bag. Just one cable plugged in, charge up the whole system, charge up the batteries as well as the built-in battery, and then when you're out and about and you're swapping batteries throughout the day and you can't perhaps get to a plug, well, it doesn't matter, because you can keep charging it off the built-in battery of this particular device. I think it's a cool thing and definitely worth considering. Finally, with all those things to charge, you're going to need a USB-C charger, and I would throw something like this U-Green one into your kit bag as well, so that you can charge multiple devices at the same time. With this, you could have 3 USB-C plugs going in at the same time. You could be charging up those MPF batteries via maybe one of that charger that we just looked at, as well as charging up your V-Lock and your gimbal all at the same time. Final mention is the bag that you're going to put all of this in. I almost forgot to include this, but there is a great deal on the Think Tank Photo Airport Advantage roller bag. This is my favorite bag when it comes to storing all my camera kit. So much so that we own several of these now for all the different kits that we own, and they're just so useful. If you do a lot of flying, this is a great bag to go with. It's very lightweight, it's easy to carry around, but at the same time provides you plenty of well-protected storage. And they're just such solid bags. They last a really long time. They're really well made and definitely worth spending a bit extra money on. But what's great right now is they've got a massive discount on them. And for that price, it's definitely worth grabbing one of these and using as your main camera bag. You might also want to get a backpack as well. But personally, when you're carrying all that kit in one place, it can get really quite heavy. So for me, I always do like a roller bag as my main camera storage, and then I'll have a backpack for scenarios where that is more appropriate. So there you go, that are all the great Black Friday deals for filmmakers right now. So much so you could pick up an entire camera kit just using Black Friday deals. Now I did miss a few things off there. There was no mention of a drone on there. There's not really any great deals for them. And also when it comes to MacBook Pros, once again, they've just released new M4s. So I think you just go down that road now and you just got to pay the full price for them. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe as it massively helps me out, and make sure you use those affiliate links because it means that I can actually have Christmas dinner this year. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.